Well, I'm very honored and I'm very humbled to accept this award on behalf of the two co-founders of Convergent Technologies, Greg Lernahan and Dan Masseri, and on behalf of all of our Convergent Nation colleagues. I also want to thank Ryan and I want to thank Matt Berman for thinking of us and believing in our story enough to nominate us. And I'd like to thank the entire ACG organization for choosing us as a recipient of this award. Convergent really cherishes this award, and I want to thank you. I've been asked to talk for about 10 or 15 minutes to share with you basically 4 topics. One is talking about the Convergent story, which I love doing. Talk a little bit about some of our successes, talk about some of our challenges, and finally just a brief few comments on our capital structure. So where do I start? I guess in the beginning, 11 years ago. Convergent Technologies is truly a basement story. A simple comment to Dan and Greg as I was leaving their going away party from Siemens Building Technologies to keep me in mind when they popped up somewhere exciting would end up shaping the next 11 years of my life. On June 18th, 2001, I walked down the stairs to a 900 square foot basement in Barrington, Illinois. There were 10 of us that started all on that day, and all 10 of us were vice presidents. Can you name another company that would open their doors with 10 vice presidents? That turned out to be a really important decision for us, one that I'm going to come back to a little later and talk about. We had no colleagues, we had no customers, we had no financial system, we had no employee handbook, no products. We had absolutely nothing. We didn't even have a conference room on that wonderful day. In August of 2001, we secured our first security order with Conroe Independent School District out of Houston, Texas. Now we were legit. We actually had a customer. But remember, basically at this time, we only had vice presidents working for us. So this was a frightening installation. Two of our vice presidents from Houston went out and installed this $10,000 system with no problems. They ended up needing a scissors lift in order to get wires hung above the ceiling. And while we were there, the principal of the school asked if we could take down a huge whale that was held to a wall with literally thousands of staples. And of course we said we'd do it, and we said we'd do everything else that customer asked of us. Today we're still involved with that client, and I'm happy to say that we've done in excess of $10 million worth of work with that school district to date. Three months after walking down the stairs to that basement, I was sitting in my second-hand desk chair at my Office Depot foldable table at just about 9 a.m. and I began realizing that the world had been changed forever as one of the Twin Towers was in flames. As a result of that tragedy and other tragedies around the world, we redirected our efforts towards electronic security, and our business today is 70% security, 20% fire and life safety, and the difference is made up of HVAC, building automation, healthcare technologies, and communications. 2011 was a big year for us. It was our 10-year anniversary. We reached $1 billion in company-to-date sales, and this past month we just hired our 1,000th employee. So I know most of you are numbers people out there, and I thought I would just show you a picture of what our revenues look like from inception to date. We've been blessed with many successes today, and I'm going to highlight four areas for you in particular. The first thing that we did was we created our values and beliefs. We call them our V's and B's. And we did this before we had $1 of revenue. We didn't follow a book, we followed our hearts. We knew what we wanted to create in this company, and we put it down on paper. This helped establish our culture from day one, and today we have a very, very strong culture, a culture that's contagious. The words that we chose for these values and beliefs were intentionally not corporate words, but they were written so that our kids could understand them and still be meaningful. Here are a few examples of our 10 values and beliefs. 1, we believe in balanced lives, family, business, and community. You see, we close the company down every year on our anniversary and give back to charities through North America. This has established a culture of giving throughout our company. Even when we were losing money in our first 3 to 4 years, we still closed down every office and we supported women's shelters, food banks, and other various non-for-profits. Convergent Social Responsibility Day is by far the favorite day of our year. Another value and belief is we expect to be our customer's best service provider, no matter what business we are in. This drives the entire organization. It doesn't say on a scale of 1 to 10, I want to be an 8. It says that we want to be the best service provider for that customer out of all the service providers that they use. This is a huge difference. And when colleagues join Convergent, we set the tone right up front. Another value and belief that we all enjoy is we promote fun and laughter on a daily basis. So I got that going for me, which is nice. You might recognize that last tagline from that last value and belief from Caddyshack. At another time, I can tell you how this sophomoric movie from 1980 is intertwined throughout our organization. But the Gopher and Caddyshack are a part of everything we do at Convergent. We give out a $20 Traveling Gopher Award, literally one $20. We haven't bought a new one since 2005, to our top sales office at our national sales conference. And our offices killed to get this furry rodent brought back to their offices. The fun and laughter V&B is pervasive in our culture. I could tell you stories ranging from me singing Lady Gaga when I had no clue who she was, to our leaders spending 2 hours getting dressed up as the rock group Kiss. I've dressed up for Halloween, and our leaders have put on their own rendition of Animal House. Our values and beliefs drive our culture. Our values and beliefs drive our culture in our company. All of our colleagues are evaluated each year based on an evaluation form that lists out every one of the 10 values and beliefs, and then evaluates how that colleague performs against each one of those B's and B's. These are not just words on paper, but it's with Convergent, it's in our DNA. At our most recent colleague survey taken this past January, a staggering 99% of our colleagues believe that we are an excellent company to work for. Our values and beliefs helped us to build a company with the financial infrastructure, the growth objectives, and the general business processes of a Fortune 500 company, combined with the nimbleness and family friendliness and ease of doing business of a local entrepreneur. It's a powerful combination that is unmatched in our industry and in most. Second, we had a vision. We developed a detailed 9-year business plan. Our business plan was not just to start a local company, but we wanted to create a North American integration company that was going to make a difference in the industry, in our communities, and in our colleagues' lives. So you might ask, what's so special about a 9-year business plan? Well, ours is special because, as you can see, 10 years after, the results have remarkably matched up against that plan that was put in place back in that time. Of course, at the time we put this together, we had no idea that the world was going to end and we would suffer through the worst economic times of our lives. Third success is that we hired leadership before revenue, and we believe that people would follow excellent leadership. Most companies cut corners in the beginning to avoid the expense of excellent leadership. We believe just the opposite, and fortunately we turned out to be correct. Not one of our original business leaders has left the company. Then Dan and Greg hired me, a Fortune 500 guy with M&A, finance, tax, and legal experience as their first employee and their CFO. Who on earth would ever do that unless they were thinking about the long term? We knew we were top heavy early on, but we also knew that we had the leaders that could manage a billion-dollar organization and manage our business appropriately. We were also able to attract the best leaders in the industry to join us in the basement because we shared ownership with our key leaders. Most entrepreneurs keep their ownership to themselves, but we believe that if we shared ownership with our key people, that we would get everything they had to offer. We would get their heart and we would get their soul. We also educated our entire organization and we incentivized our management and our sales colleagues on the importance of cash flow. Every day a spreadsheet is sent around that shows the cash that came in that day slotted by each location. And still today, 11 years later, we still get a daily report of cash flow and sales, cash flow and sales. Finally, we differentiated ourselves as a true service organization. Remember, one of our values and beliefs is we want to be our customer's best service provider. Well, in the summer of 2003, our team flew to Richmond, Virginia to basically practice our presentation skills. You see, Capital One, this small company, had a proposal on the street for their security needs across North America. In addition to having no national accounts at the time, our closest office to Richmond, Virginia was Atlanta, Georgia. But we gave it our best. We explained our values and beliefs in the company we were trying to build. And we told Capital One that if they gave us their business, we would open an office in Richmond, Virginia. Finally, we closed with what's in our wallet, and we pulled out our values and beliefs card that each one of us carry. To our delight and amazement, we secured the Capital One account. At our kickoff meeting, Capital One gave us a cake with our values and beliefs on one side and their values and beliefs on the other. Capital One is one of our most valued clients today. Since 2003, they've acquired 1,200 individual banks, and we have followed them throughout North America. Our goal is always to build a North American organization servicing Fortune 500 companies. We had the leadership, we had the product set, we had the culture, but now we had a reference, and we were able to leverage that reference. Today we do business for Dell, Texas Instruments, Chevron, Boeing, Yahoo, United Healthcare, and many, many more large companies. We like to say that we are in the service business and we just happen to sell a little product along the way. It's in our DNA. So now turning to our challenges. 3 months after we started the company, 9/11 had a significant impact on the economy. And then again, in 2008 through 2011, you're all aware of the environment that we've been trying to conduct business in. At our sales conference in February of 2009, we adopted the phrase, "We choose not to participate in this recession," and we didn't. While the industry and most other companies showed some reduction in their business, we maintained growth in sales, and we were able to focus on execution and improve our bottom line as well. During this period of time, we produced a 21% CAGR on sales, and our culture set the expectation that this was the time for us to increase our market share. Our second challenge was with the growth that we had over the last 11 years, finding, developing, and integrating colleagues into our business and preserving the culture for which we are so proud. The key is to maintain growth in our culture while at the same time continually improving sales performance, execution, and service. This is no easy task. Third, our strategic partner who invested with us on day one was acquired by a Fortune 100 company at a very critical time in our history. We had just started to show us a profit while still being cash negative. And we had spent a ton of cash over the last 3 years. I still remember to this day the CFO of that company coming in and looking at us, and his comment was, "These guys are bleeders." Fortunately, our operating agreement was strong enough and solid enough that it allowed us to continue to maintain control of the company and prevented our investor from doing anything unilaterally at that time. However, they made it very, very clear to us that we had no access to additional capital, so we had to make it work no matter what. Technology also created some challenges for us. While we saw technology changes coming, and we saw technology changes coming, and we aggressively hired and trained for it. So we turned this into an advantage for us. When we started the company in 2001, it's hard to believe, just back in 2001, there were no smartphones, there was no Gmail, no Facebook, there was no YouTube, Twitter didn't exist. Wireless, if you remember, was very, very cumbersome. In our business, we were just being introduced to the first DVRs while still installing VHS tape recorders. Cameras were all analog, and security was almost always managed by the head of security. Today, everything is digital. We sell to the head of IT. We use the company's IT infrastructure. We have web and cloud-based applications, and our cameras now are all IP programmable and have intelligence engineered right within the camera. So finally, I've been asked to say a few words about our capital structure. Really, at the end of the day, after we were able to convince a $2 billion worldwide organization to invest money in starting up our company and allowing us to maintain control of the company, the capital came in as half debt and half equity, the equity having a preference to the extent of the amount of the money contributed. Then there was a clawback provision. There's nothing like the threat of clawback of ownership to provide a little motivation for success. We were all driven not to lose any of our ownership from day one. Having a corporate investor also allowed us to allocate the initial losses to that corporation as opposed to individuals, allowing our investor to utilize those losses against their U.S. consolidated taxable income. We ended up with some other unique provisions to allow us to consolidate the organization in the UK. A few key provisions created the perception of control, even though control didn't exist. And then finally, we also ended up with a provision referred to as the Dutch auction. For those of you who have not heard of this provision, it basically provides for, after a date certain, for either party to initiate the process, which ends with both parties putting a number in a sealed envelope and putting it on a table, and the highest price takes all. Wow. Despite the Dutch auction provision, last year we successfully negotiated a buyout of our minority partner using bank debt. So at the beginning, we started with our experience. We obtained equity financing. We swapped out that for bank funding. And as of today, we have significantly deleveraged over the last 12 months. So in conclusion, I want to say thank you for this tremendous honor. The past 11 years have been the most exciting and fulfilling of my career because I've had the honor of being associated with the very best colleagues in the world and being part of a company, of starting up a company from scratch. Thank you very, very much.